Lightning round, brother. We got 20 minutes because Kelly Schuldice from the Northern Super League is going to join us coming up in a bit. So, where do you want? Actually, I want to start with this: your conversation with Paul Rothrock. What was that like sitting down with Paul and hanging out with him? What was the conversation like for you guys?
Well, first of all, how's everybody doing? Excited to be back, of course. Yes, I wasn't necessarily part of that one-on-one conversation because that was more the sounder of heart that went to Marbella. But what I did get out of that, which everybody should go and check out at Sounder of Heart and of Loving Scorchers, of course. I love that they went more of a personal route. They went more into knowing Paul Rothrock, the player, and some of his interests. And he's just recently engaged, and all of the things that maybe you don't hear about on an everyday presser or on a regular training day. So I love Paul Rothrock as someone who, if he's gonna give you the time to sit down and talk to you, he's gonna provide you content. I mean, he's going to give you something to write about, and not forcefully. He's just someone that is pretty open. So you ask the right questions, you get on the right subjects. I mean, he even talked about like where the light rail should go here in the city center. So I don't want to, no spoilers, but you should definitely go check that out. It's a phenomenal interview. But we did get a chance to go back to Providence Swedish to look at the players, look at where the group is at. We had a little bit of a hostile Brian Smetzer after practice. Caught me by surprise, I'm not gonna lie to you. But he is gonna be dealing with a whole lot of games and pressure coming out in this 2026 season. So maybe that's where that animosity is going. But for sure, he was able to let us know that the team is on schedule. I thought that was big. I asked him where the team was at. He said, in his opinion, he's on schedule. He said, give me some games to figure out how well we did in that European camp. But it sounds like the fitness components was there. Some of the concepts that they wanted to really figure out going into this season was taken care of. There are some injuries. He talked about Ryan Saylor, who they just got, Kim Ki-hee, and Stu Hawkins, who I keep wanting to see on the field and just continues to not get his chance for either there's no spot for him at the time or there's some health issues. So neither of those three center backs will be available for the opening of the season per Brian Smetzer. He said maybe shortly thereafter they'll be available. So in terms of depth, because you are going to have Jackson Reagan and Yemer Gomez Andrade, you'll likely get some makeshift, which is a term that he didn't really love. But, makeshift just means a midfielder playing at center back like Alex Roldan has done in the past. And Cody Baker, who during the preseason in Marbella, I thought looked pretty good in that second game of the last preseason game in Marbella. Something that he does well is that ability to be very versatile, and he was actually one of the very few highlights of that second group that lost 3-0. And so definitely some concern there for the Sounders. Center back is a position that you want to have a lot of depth on. And the last season, they had a lot of injuries on, and you saw some Alex Roldan center back, but then you're taking him away from positions where he could be more influential on the field. Other than that, I thought that there was good vibes on the field. The team looks like a team that's ready to go as of right now. Christian Roldan talked to us a little bit. He got to get his little Hollywood moment when he went to the Super Bowl. He got to meet the stars, got to hang out with Guy Fieri and all this things. So we got to talk to him for a bit, and that was fun. He looks like a guy that also has a big year coming up between what he wants to do, his objectives and his ambitions on the national team level, as well as the Sounders as a club. So overall, good vibes from Providence Swedish this week.
And it's good to know that the Providence and Swedish trophy manufacturing shop and frame store is having good times after coming back from Marbella. I want to get into CONCACAF Champions Cup just a bit. The Triple C, most of it's chalk from what we've been able to see, in the overall. But San Diego FC decided to introduce themselves to Pumas and basically took them out back and brought the belt. And it was 4-2 by the time they were done. So San Diego FC down 1-0, and they put 4 straight on the board at the Murph Dragon before losing, obviously, 1-0 in leg number 2. But San Diego FC makes an early statement. They're going to take on Toluca next, and I cannot wait to see what San Diego FC looks like in Estadio Nemesio Diaz. That's going to be a fun one. And
that's a tough task.
that's going to be a tough one. And you end up with Monterrey knocking off Selaju, Los Super Chivos. We were rooting for Selaju. Don't get me wrong. Cruz Azul tonight should advance over Vancouver. So you're looking at Cruz Azul Monterrey in the next round. You're going to have some matchups that are going to be working their way in. Club America taking care of Olympia. Tigres, no problem with Forge. And coming up around the corner, you mentioned Seattle. They were seeded in, so they kind of watch Vancouver and Cartagenes. If Vancouver advances after the next 2 legs there, you're going to have Cascadia in the round of 8 with Seattle and Vancouver coming up. But San Diego FC making an early statement. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, look, like always, I find it funny when in this format, in this CONCACAF tournament, we make a lot of that first leg. It's like, oh, Tigres, they couldn't score and they were unable. Maybe there's a chance. And no, there wasn't. Second leg, Tigres takes care of business. El Buffalo look excellent with Tigres. I think they're going to be a team to watch throughout this tournament. Club America, yes, they take care of business, but they also have a lot of question marks. They are a team that maybe is not producing to the level that very high expectation fan base has. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting. I think that Toluca game, that's a tough one for San Diego. Look, I like what San Diego did against Pumas, even in the 1-0 loss. They created a lot of chances. Pellegrino looks dangerous. Godoy is doing Godoy type things. If you're going to do well in a CONCACAF tournament, you need Aníbal Godoy to play great, and he has been playing pretty good. They had some opportunities, couple of shots on the post there for San Diego FC, but defensively, after that, they held their own, right? I mean, Pumas does get that goal, Pedro Vite off of a set piece, but when it came to just active defending, pressing, keeping Pumas away from chance creation areas, and then holding on when you needed to. I thought that they did that well. So San Diego gets a tough task, because I do think Toluca is probably the best team right now in that tournament, considering what they were able to do with El Turco Mohamed last season, the quality of that roster, and the form that they're in. So tough task for San Diego. I don't expect them to go through, but look, Mikey Veras is a guy that he surprised me more than once, and so maybe he can do it. When it comes to that Vancouver potential matchup against the Sounders, that's going to be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. I think Vancouver is a team that I'm also ready to see on the field, because they do have some changes. There are some absences in that team that they're going to have to kind of figure out. But I do think that Vancouver in general has a pretty good roster, but mainly a Jasper Sorensen that I'm excited to see him on year 2. And after coming across from a excellent season and doing a lot of great things, putting Vancouver probably at a height that they never had before. Yeah. So it's going to be an exciting tournament for sure.
Yep. Transactions so far this week, there have been a couple. Jonathan Perez goes to Chivas from Nashville. Good piece of business for them. Doubling their investment. Picked him up for 1.5. Flipped him. I mean, this was a great flipping of a house, because you pick him up in August for 1.5. Less than a year later, you flip him and you get 3 for him, sending him to Chivas. I mean, that is fixer-upper material, man. That is some good stuff there with Jonathan Perez. Juan Manuel Sanabria goes from Atlético San Luis to RSL. dropping on some money there for RSL to bring in Sanabria for the midfield. Agustin Anello comes from Boston River to Philly. Then you have a trade with Montreal and Red Bulls where Wiki Carmona and Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy are involved. And then we mentioned San Diego. Sneaky pickup here. Jason was high on this one. Bryce Duke got picked up on Monday on a free from CF Montreal to San Diego FC. We've seen what Bryce Duke can do with LAFC, and now he goes to San Diego FC. There's a couple of interesting moves in there from earlier in the week.
Yeah, that's good business. I mean, look, Bryce is the type of player that's gonna give you 2 or 3 very particular attributes on the attacking end that you want to have. San Diego seems to be a team that is not in any rush to fill up some of those DP spots. We saw them do it well last season. They have a way of play, a way to approach their system that's working out. And look, I enjoy the fact that you're able to have smart moves rather than splashy moves. That is, my way of seeing the game, popular to some, not popular to others. But San Diego's been able to put together a really good roster, I think, in for the most part. Do they need a little bit more of those big impact players? Absolutely. But this move is a lot like the Lewis Morgan move, where it was just a guy that you were going to be able to bring in, and you were able to not sharpen, but maybe put him in a different way, in a different system, in a different atmosphere, where they were going to be able to rise to that occasion. And I think that's going to work out for this San Diego team. RSL, low key, I mean, look, another team that is not necessarily getting the big names, but they are adding some really good players. Look, Jose Ares is a good player that they're adding up. They're looking for prospects, and they're going a lot younger. I think Kurt Smith is very underrated on his approach to the game and how good he is at talent recognition and where this team could be going this particular season. I know that there hasn't been always perfect acquisitions, but I do like where they're going in this particular year. So for me, RSL is one of the teams that I'm actually excited to see, just because some of that young talent, where they're using some of those U22s in younger spots.
Now you're kind of getting toward the end of it. You've got a lot of folks at Coachella. You've got folks on their own wrapping things up when it comes to the preseason. And from your viewing of everyone here in the preseason, as we are now wildly only 9 days away from the beginning of the season here, who are you in the West? Who do you still have concerns about because they haven't either done anything, they've done things that you didn't think they should have done? Yeah, who are you sitting there? Who is? I guess we could do an early round of red light, yellow light, green light for the Western Conference. Let's do that. So, red light, yellow light, green light, Western Conference, and you can expand it to MLS if you want. So if we go red light, yellow light, green light, from what you've been able to see so far, transactions, activity, injuries, all of this, what are your early red light, yellow light, green lights? Because next week, we're really talking like game previews and stuff. We're getting into juice boxes next week, which is crazy to think about. But red light, yellow light, green light, what's on your mind?
Look, red light for me has to be San Diego. And I mean, I'm not San Diego, San Jose. I get that they got the big move, and they got the guy that everybody wants to see on the field, and we are hoping that Bruce Arenas can, I think, get another 9. I really do think that Bruce Arenas is going to go back to a 2-forward system, and by losing Chicharango, I do think that the number one move San Jose needs to make is just one more 9 to play next to your big gun, to your big cheese. But to me, I look at that roster and there are just so many holes. I do think that there is a potential for this team to be not a contender necessarily, but one that's going to be battling and making people's lives pretty difficult. They'll be a playoff team, but I mean, I said that last season with probably a much more cohesive squad, but they're the team that I'm a little bit concerned about at this moment. Not using some of those DP spots, losing players that have been so important. They're the team that I'm a little bit concerned about. My yellow light is Austin.
Okay.
I like Austin's talent, but it feels a lot like last season where you just bought a whole bunch of players with a lot of potential and a lot of talent. Usuni, there was rumors about him leaving. What happens to that spot? I'm not sure necessarily how you're going to use Facundo Torres, some of the talent and some of those depth pieces that you got, like Jaden Nelson. You know, how much are you going to put them on the field? How quickly are they going to be able to perform? I think defensively, you still got a lot of questions. He's a young defensive line. They have been poor when it comes to picking up those sort of players to rise in the level of that defense. So they're my yellow light because I like the talent. I like some of the acquisitions, but I just don't quite know exactly where they're going to go from here on out. And obviously, time is up. The window is about to close. The season's about to start. And so how quickly can you get somebody in to really make a difference? I just don't know if it's going to be a situation where your best player is going to be looking around and saying, is this what you brought me for? What do I really have? Is it really going to be Judd next to a guy like Abaribo up top? I mean, you hope that that's not the case. And no disrespect to Judd. I love the player. I think he's a very, you know, producing low level, just hard working guy, but just not what you want to see up top for San Jose. So, that's the way that goes with San Jose and Austin. That's my red light, yellow light. My green light, that's the tough one for me. That's a tough one for me because the Western Conference is has a lot of question marks. So I like to say San Diego because they're already off to a good start. They also have some holes in their game. I like to say LAFC because I kind of know what they want to do this year. It sounds like with the new player they just got, the Portuguese, why is escaping my mind? I do think that they do have a really decent roster. I think they're going to be a little bit more of a possession-based team rather than they were last season. I do think that Mark Dos Santos is going to give them a little bit more balance in where they're not going to be just a team that wants to play against the run of play in every single game. They're going to have that in their pocket. It's going to be one of their tools. Clearly, you have to runners and to such influential players like San and Buanga, but having this new way of playing, maybe a little bit more possession based, is going to be interesting. So I'll go with San Diego with my green light just because they've been there, done that. They're already in good form. They've shown you what they can do. And I expect Mike Ferris to have this team ready to go when the season, MLS side starts.
Yeah, Stephen Eustachio was who we were trying to think
of. There you go. That's who it was. I think that he is a very underrated move. I had people ask me, why are you really interested in it? I think that for the system that I think Mark Dos Santos is going to put together, you need somebody that controls tempo. And they haven't really had that, since guys like Atuesta left, and even Ilie Sanchez to a certain degree just had that ability to kind of control your midfield, allow you to have a little bit of guy in possession that maybe turns around and holds the ball and eventually puts a through ball and gets those Buangas and those Suns going. So for me, that's an underrated move. And LAFC, regardless of how maybe some of their fan base has looked frustrated because they're not out there trying to get the highest of the most paid players in Europe, as they would like to. I do think that this team is going to have some really, really quality guys. I'm excited to see them play.
All right, Sounder at heart, delicatessen and driver's license approval place and getting all of our stickers and making sure that we are registered with our automobiles. What's the latest up there? What's going on with Pulso Sports, Sounder at Heart, and Providence in Swedish?
Yeah, so today, look, we're going to be recording a really, really good interview that I've been trying to get with Danny Leyva. He has been playing for Club Necaxa. He's looked really, really good. I'm excited to hear from him about that adaptation to a new team, a new coaching style. He's only been playing as a professional and younger academy with the Sounders. So I'm really curious about that culture change of going to Necaxa, going to Liga MX. He is starting to get what we all wanted from him, and is that respect as a set piece specialist. He had an assist, and he had actually one that got taken back in his last game from set pieces. So I'm really curious about what he's going to say to us. So go ahead and wait for that. That's going to be on Sounder Our Heart for sure. We're going to have what we learned this week on tomorrow. You don't want to miss that one either, because we're going to be at Providence in Swedish. We're going to get to once again hear from some of the players on the field, and we're going to be getting ready for the last preseason game, which will be Sunday after Valentine's Day against Louisville City. And for me this week, I really want to know if Brian Smetzer is going to continue to have this committee type approach towards replacing Obed, because I asked him about Hassani Dotson, and he gave me the runaround about, well, it's not just Hassani, it's Snyder, and maybe I'll drop Albert right next to Christian. And I don't know if I like that very much from Brian. But so this week we're going to be asking him a little bit more about how that's going to play out. And so you don't want to miss that. That's going to be on Friday with Jeremiah Shannon, what we learned this week. And then on Monday, of course, Lobbying Scorchers with Ari Lillenwall on kickoff.
Juice boxes next week, man. This is crazy.
We're getting ready for it. We are getting ready for it. I tell you what. Hey, I was at the parade though yesterday for the Seahawks. That's why I didn't put the lights on, because you are gonna see the tiredness in my face. But now that NFL is gone and the Seahawks are Super Bowl champs, I'm gonna need those juice boxes to come out from MLS side. So yes, we're gonna be getting into that.
I'm looking forward to it. As always, my brother, great to see you. Enjoy a cup of coffee, too, heading into number 3. We'll catch up with you next week. We're talking about games, man. We're talking about games. We're not just talking about Providence and Swedish sub shop and oil change. We are talking about games, brother, and I cannot wait. Great to see you, my friend, and we will catch up with you next week.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.